Okay, so lesson 5, personal loans. Like I said, if you know how to do this, you'll know how to do the mortgages stuff. And basically, the way they work is that the bank, when the bank sets up payments for you, the bank needs to make their money. That's how they make money, right? They lend out money and they charge extra as you pay it back. And they get paid, they kind of like to pay themselves first, right? It's not like if you borrow $5,000, it's not like they wait for you to pay the $5,000 back and then you have to add on money. They like to, with each payment, they like to get their money first. So every payment you make, part of your payment goes to paying back the money you borrowed, and part of that payment is bank profit. It's money they're making off of you. Okay? In a mortgage, it's pretty extreme. So at the beginning of a mortgage, let's say you make a $1,000 payment a month. Okay? Maybe $700 of that is just to the bank for their profit, and maybe $300 actually pays off the mortgage. And then over time, as you get towards the end, more of your payment pays it off, right? The bank likes to make their profit first. So it's not a simple calculation. We have to kind of use a chart for it. And so we have these charts in here. I'm going to show you how to use it. It's not hard to use. And the one thing we want to talk about in the front here is if you do find you're in need of getting a loan, like for a car, you can shop around. Remember, they want to make money off of you, so you can shop around and get the best deal. The best deal is the one with the lowest rate, right? So they don't like to see money walk out the door, so be prepared to say, that's not a good enough deal, I'm going to go elsewhere. And then get up and start walking out, and then usually they'll go, oh, well, wait a second, let me talk to my manager. You know, I said the general rule with like loan stuff, when you show up, they're always super happy and friendly because you mean money to them, right? Yeah. So they treat you well. Can I get you a coffee or donut or whatever? And you're like, oh, you feel really good about being there, right? But when you leave, you want them to not be as happy. If they're that happy when you leave, that means they're making too much money off of you. So you want them to be almost a little grumpy when you leave. That means you did a good job of negotiating to get your price down, right? So get a lower interest rate. Just threaten to go somewhere else, right? Say, this such and such place here was offering 4%. You're saying it's 5%.
Don't do it the next day. Do it that same day.
Do it that same day and just say, I really like this. They're going to try to sell you, and you can try to sell them. I really like your establishment. I like working with you. I've been a customer at this bank for years. I'm not expecting you. I'm not just fighting for the lowest rate. I like the customer service. So because this place is offering 4%, if you just match it, I'll stay here, right? Then it makes it seem like you're doing them a favor, which you're not. You're just getting them to drop the price rates.
You want to hear a weird story? My brother owns a dealership in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And one day a lady bought a Lexus SUV, but she didn't check the interest rate.
Yeah.
She went somewhere else with a new truck. Like 2 days later, I find out she would get a better interest. So she tried to turn it in back to my brother's dealership.
Yeah.
So when they see her coming, the guy who sold her the SUV, they're rushing upstairs to the boardroom.
Hide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He stayed up there for the entire day. Then she waited in the parking lot in the lobs for the entire day.
To see if she could get, because she signed a high interest rate.
Yeah. That guy got his bonus was to drive the Chevy Impala 454 engine.
Oh yeah.
He gave him that to drive for 6 months free after that.
Because he made him a lot of money, right? Yeah.
Lexus SUV like 120,000 US.
They're pricey. Yeah. Usually when you see people driving those kind of vehicles, they haven't purchased it. They're leasing it. Because those luxury cars like the Lexus or Mercedes, quite often they'll have a really good lease rate and that people can afford, but they can't afford the cost if they bought it. So quite often when you see those really high-end vehicles, they're basically renting it.
Yeah. 3 or 4 years later, they don't have
3 or 4 years later, they get another one, right? And so for them, it looks like they always have a brand new vehicle, but really they're just making a payment. Yeah. Yeah, they're the suckers, but It's okay if you have a business, then leasing makes sense because you can write it off. It's a business expense, right? So if you need the vehicle to do work, you can't just have a business and write off the vehicle. You have to use it. So then it makes sense, right? So sort of high-end real estate agents and stuff that are selling big properties, you'll see them drive pretty nice vehicles, and they're usually new and they're leased, right? Because they can write it off. Yeah, gets the kickback, the bonuses, yeah. Okay, so shop around. Here's how you use it. Basically, here's what the chart looks like. So when you're doing the Essential 40S, you'll have a chart like this, except it'll be a lot larger. Instead of being a maximum 5-year loan, usually the mortgage ones will be 25 years, right? 25. At one point, they were allowing 30-year mortgages, 35-year mortgages, allowing people to buy a bigger house, right? I think now it's mostly 25. They change the rules all the time, so you have to check, but 25 is the standard. And then here's your interest rates. This one starts at 3. It doesn't start at 0 because, no bank's going to give you a 0% loan. Sometimes car dealerships will, right? Because they'll give you 0% financing, but that's because they want you to buy the new car and they make their money off the new car, right? But you'll never get 0% financing on a used car, right? Because the depreciation has already come down. So usually you have to pay some kind of, did you get a loan for yours? No? Or you just paid? Nice. You know how to save money. Or you got friends in high places. Okay, there you go, friends in high places. Okay.
I gotta pay insurance and stuff.
Yeah, it sucks. Cars are expensive. Yeah. And this one goes all the way up to 12%. If you're taking out a 12% loan, that's extreme. Because look at the difference here. So what this means here, if you take out a 5-year loan for $1,000, okay? So if you went to the bank and said I need $1,000, if you took out a 5-year loan at 3%, your monthly payment would be $17.97. Okay? And you would pay that back every month for 5 years. But look, if it was 12%, you'd be paying $22.24, which doesn't seem like a lot, but you're paying, it's an extra $5 a month every month for 5 years. So it's quite significant, the amount of the increase in profit. Also, most people aren't taking out $1,000 loans. If they're buying cars, they're usually taking out $25,000, $30,000, right? So you would multiply that by quite a bit. So here's how you do it. All you have to do is step 1. Step 1. Use the interest rate and number of years to find the monthly payment per $1,000 borrowed. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to take out a 5-year loan from the bank at 6%, I would just look at the chart. I'd go to 6%, and I'd go to 5 years, and my monthly payment would be $19.34, and I would write that number down. Okay, we're going to do examples right away, but I'm just telling you how you do this. Okay, so the first thing is to take the interest rate and the number of years of the loan and just find the monthly payment. That's it. Then step 2. Multiply the chart number, so the number you found, by the loan amount, and then I just divide by 1,000. And that's it. So if it's a $100,000 loan, I'll take whatever number I had in here, and I'll multiply it by 100,000, and then I'll divide by 1,000. Then I'm done. Okay? So for something like a $30,000 car, in real life, it's pretty common for interest rates to be, they're not that bad right now, but let's say 5%. So if I wanted to buy a $30,000 car, I would pay $18.96 at 5% for 5 years. And then I would multiply that number by 30,000 and then divide by 1,000. And if I did that, grab my calculator here. Okay, this is just an example, sort of a real life kind of thing. 1896 times 30,000 divided by 1,000. My monthly payment would be $568.80. And that's a pretty common kind of payment for a 5-year loan on a newer vehicle. $500, $600. Right? Sometimes there's better deals, like when I bought my Kia, actually has been a good car. I have a 2009 Kia Rondo. It's actually been a really good car.
Yeah, my mom was trying, boyfriend was okay.
Yeah.
For them, said their cars were
Yeah, they're quite good. They're owned by Hyundai. And when we bought it, it had you could buy it on a 7-year loan at 0% interest rate. So the payment wasn't that bad, right? I mean, it'd be bad if it wasn't working, but from working, it's not too bad. It was like, I think after taxes, and we got like the luxury model with heated seats. Ooh. Okay, so I think it was like $33,000 after everything was in there, and I fought them on getting a good price too. 33,000, including the taxes. Yeah. Now the newer ones would be more, right? But 33,000, and because it was 0% interest rate, I didn't have to use the chart, and then I would just divide that by like 7 years of payments, which would be 7 years times 12 payments a year. Yeah, so the payment was just under $400, so it wasn't too bad. Well, it's not easy.
That's normal.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. $400, but then of course you also have your insurance, which is like another $100 a month, and then you have your
tied up your life.
yeah. Then you have other costs, right? You have your oil changes, tire changes, that kind of stuff. Actually, the biggest expense at the beginning was buying like winter tires. Buying a set of winter tires for an SUV, they're truck tires, right? So expensive. I think it was $1,000.
Yeah, it's like that. My car is when I bought it's Acadian DMC.
Yep.
And when I changed the oil system to put it in, it cost me $800.
Yeah, everything's expensive, right? And shop rates now, if you take a car in, it's like $100 an hour, right? So it's
Especially when DMC is too expensive.
yeah.
It's,
Okay, so let's do an example here. Example 1, Mia needs a personal loan of $12,000. So I know that at some point I'm going to find a number on the chart, I'm going to multiply by 12,000, and then I'm going to divide by 1,000. So Mia needs a personal loan of 12,000. Her bank gives her a 4-year loan at a rate of 9.5%, which is sucky. She should go to a better bank. Okay, so let's go back here. So all you do is you go to the 9.5 and 4 years. There it is, 9.5. When I go over to 4 years, I see 25.12. Do you see that number there on the chart?
950, right?
Yeah. So at 9.50% at 4 years is 25.12. So all I do is write that number down. I just write down 25.12 from the chart. Okay, that's always step 1. And then I multiply by the loan amount, which was $12,000. $12,000 loan. And my last step is to divide by 1,000 because the chart value is per 1,000. And that's it. That's all I have to do. It's not too bad. So then I just go 25.12 times 12,000 divided by 1,000. And I get a $301.44 monthly payment. And that's to pay back a $12,000 loan in 4 years. Okay. So I only use these two numbers, how long the loan is, interest rate. I just use it at the beginning to find the number in the chart, and then I don't use it again. That's the most common mistake that students make with this, is they feel they need to multiply by those numbers. You don't. Once you've used these two numbers, in fact, what I do so that I don't accidentally go back and start using them is I cross them off. I cross it off, and I cross it off once I go find the number from the chart. Okay? So it's really just 2 steps. Look at the chart, multiply by the loan, and divide by 1,000. Okay, example 2. Calculate the total amount of interest paid back. So that's a little extra work, but the beginning work is always the same. Find the monthly payment. So Amy, she would like to buy a computer, but she needs to borrow $2,200. She decides to take out a loan at 7.5% for 2 years. Okay, so over in the chart, there's the 7.5%, there's the 2 years, there's the number I need, 45.12. So I'm just going to write here, 45.12. I'm going to multiply by the $2,200 loan and divide by 1,000. And I'll get a monthly payment of $99.26. So that is the monthly payment for A. Now, with some of these questions, they'll ask you more stuff. Once you know the monthly payment, they might ask you, how much do they pay back in total? Remember, the bank always has to make some profit. So if you started out with a $2,200 loan, you know that at the end, they will have paid back more than $2,200. Okay? It may not be that much more, or it could be a lot more, depending on how long the loan is, depending on how big the loan is. So for something like a mortgage, where people will borrow a few $100,000, when they're done paying off the mortgage, they might have paid back $400,000. The bank might have made an extra $100,000 off it. But what are you going to do? It's pretty hard to save up $300,000, right? And people would rather like move into a place earlier than have to wait and save up all the money. People, you know, if you have a good job, it's possible to save up enough money to buy a new car. It'll take you a few years, right? But it's pretty hard to save up enough money to buy an entire house, right? Especially if it's like $300,000.
Yeah, it's better to pay half of it anyway.
Yeah. So what people do is they try to save up as much as they can, and that's called a down payment, right?
Yeah.
They try to like the bigger your down payment, the better a deal you're going to get with the bank.
Yeah.
The less interest you're going to pay. Also, with mortgages, if you don't pay enough, like if you don't have enough cash, then you have to go have it insured by the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, and then they charge you a premium. You pay extra for CMH. It's called CMHC. Yeah. So if your down payment is not over, I'd have to look this up, I think 25%, then you have to have, your mortgage has to be insured by law, by CMHC, and you pay extra again. So ideally you'd like to save up.
It should be like 5% again. If you have already 3%.
Well, no, the 5% had to, that rule was that's what you needed for a down payment, but you still had to pay the CMHC fees. Yeah. But they changed it, so now you need more, right? But yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, there's many people pay down payment 50,000, 40,000.
Yeah. The more you have, the better, right?
Yeah. But 25,000 is lower.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't when my wife and I bought our house. I shouldn't say bought our house. People say bought our house. Really, we got a loan from the bank to buy. The bank owns the house. Someday we'll own it. Right now we're co-owners with the bank. When we bought ours, we didn't have the money saved up for the down payment. So, but you know, we were clever. We found a way around it. What you you can do in Canada is you can take out RRSP loans, and RSPs, you're allowed to draw them out to use to buy a house.
That's the only time they'll.
The only time they allow it. So we took out, I forget what it was, $8,000 worth of RSP loans, and then immediately withdrew the money to use as our down payment. Yeah, so we found a way around it. But it also meant we had more debt to service.
Then the government didn't tell you guys that is not that when you.
Well, the government's okay with it, but the problem was you have to pay it back. So we were making a mortgage payment, plus we were also paying back the RSP loan, right? So,
RSP loan is not your money, right? I thought in money.
it is your money, but you have to put it back. Because basically we've taken it from the government, right? So you have to put it back. It benefits you as well, so you do want to put it back. But yeah, so I was teaching full time, and I was also tutoring on the weekend. Yeah, I was younger then. I didn't have kids. I had all this extra time and extra energy. I couldn't do it now.
Yeah,
I have less time and no energy.
RSP, that's crazy when you withdraw money from them. That's crazy. Current for you at least good years.
Yep,
I tried one time, but I closed it. That's crazy.
it's hard.
Yeah, when you withdraw in millions, they shut you down.
So this one, there's the payment, and then it says how much will Amy pay back in total. Well, if you want to know how much someone pays back in total, it's a monthly payment. So you just times it by the number of months, and then times by the number of years. So Amy's payment was $99.26, so that's times 12 months times 2 years. So if I do that, 99.26 times 12 times 2. So Amy paid back $2,382.24. Remember I said it would be more than the loan? So the original loan amount was $2,200, and at the end she paid back $2,382.24. So she gave the bank an extra $182.24, which isn't too bad. Okay, but it was only a 2-year loan, and the interest rate was pretty low, right? Whereas something like a mortgage, it's really long and the amount is really large. Okay, and the only other question they'll ask you is how much interest did she pay, and then you would just subtract it. That subtract the $2,200, and that would tell you how much. Which is what we'll do in this. Do you want to do one more example?
Yeah, because I missed that last part where you did about calculating the 99 something.
Yep. So example 3, Gianto wants to purchase a new car. She will borrow $25,000 for 4 years at an interest rate of 6.25%. So all you need to remember for the chart is 4 years and 6.25%. So we're going to have to find the chart value. So let's go to the chart. 6.25, 4 years, which is $23.61. Right? So let's go write that down. 23.61, and then we multiply that by the loan amount, which was $25,000, and then we divide by 1,000. That will give us our monthly payment. The monthly payment is $590.25. Okay. B, how much does she pay the bank in total? So that would be your payment, $590.25 times 12 months. And how long was the loan for? 4 years. So $590.25 times 12 months a year times 4 years. So she pays back $28,332. Okay. Remember, she borrowed $25,000. She's paid back just over 28, and then then the last question would be determine the total amount of interest Jayanta paid. So you would just take the amount she paid in total. So total 28,332 minus the loan, which was 25,000. So in total, she paid an extra $3,332 in bank profit. Or if you would like to call it, you can call it that. But really it's bank profit, right? That's how much money the bank made off of her for lending her money. It's a great business model, eh? People just come borrow money from you and they just give you more back. You don't have to do anything. There's one problem with that. What's the problem with that business model? Yeah, you have to have the money. You have to have the money to lend. That's the problem with that business model. It's a great. If you happen to have $1 million, it's a great business model. Just start lending it to people and charging them extra money back. It'll just grow. You do nothing, you get more money, right? Unfortunately, most people just don't have a huge lump sum of money sitting around doing nothing, right? So, and there's laws about it as well. You can't, even if you had the money, you can't just start lending it out. Otherwise, you'd be a loan shark, right? There's laws against that. Okay, last one. Abdi needs to buy a new fridge. He sees one that is priced at $1,359 before tax. He will borrow the money he needs from the bank for 3 years at 3.25% interest. How much money does Abdi need to borrow to purchase the fridge? Oh, okay, well that's before we even do the loan. This was before tax. How do I add taxes? Yeah, multiply by 1.13. So that goes back to the last unit or earlier. So the total would be $1,535.67. Incidentally, if someday you decide to buy a house, if you buy a new house, you have to pay GST on it. So a new house, let's say if it's $300,000 house, you'd have to pay 300,000 times GST would be 5%, right? Times 1.05. You'd actually have to pay an extra $15,000 in tax. So, whereas a used house, you don't have to pay any tax on it. Except property tax.
And property tax is a little bit higher.
On a new house?
Yeah.
Tends to be,
Yeah.
Actually, the biggest problem that, money-wise, that I see for new houses is that landscaping. So people will buy a new house. Yes, they got to pay the GST, but then they get this new house and it's surrounded by dirt. And usually there's like, each area will have like some kind of like bylaw about how soon you have to put like grass and trees and stuff in. And people way underestimate how much that costs. If you have a new house and a new property and you want to get grass and a couple of trees and plants and stuff like that, it's nothing to drop like 50K on that. And people don't expect it, right? Oh yeah, like a brick, interlocking brick sidewalk, and yeah. I had a guy do that years ago. Bending over, I'm not doing that. I shopped around. I got this wicked deal. Someone told me about this guy, and he did half. He did the front, and the next year I called him back to do the back, and he goes, I went and checked my prices, and it turns out everybody else is charging twice as much as so he doubled his price, and he was still cheaper than everybody else. But long story short, I didn't do the back. Looks good from the front. Yeah, he was way undercharging. Okay, so how much interest will Abdi pay back in total? So again, you got to do all the same work. You'd have to go look at the chart, 3 years, 3.25%. So if I go back here, 3 years, 3.25%, that's 29.19. So I'm just going to put that in my calculator. And the amount borrowed was $1,535.67. And I divide by 1,000. The monthly payment is $44.83. And then I would multiply that by 12. And how long was the loan again? 3 years? Times 3 years, the total amount paid back would be $1613.88. And then I would subtract off the loan amount, $78.21 in interest. So that's the maximum amount of work that you're going to be asked to do. Find the monthly payment, which is use the chart times the loan divided by 1,000. Find out how much they pay back total. So just take your monthly payment times 12 times how many years. And then the last thing they can ask is how much interest was paid. And then you just take the total amount paid minus the original starting amount. That's it. That's the whole personal loans unit. And it's the same kind of thing with mortgages, except mortgages just have a bigger chart. So you'll revisit this kind of activity in the 40S. Okay? Go do the questions.